My wife treated me like trash for being a lowly forensic doctor, and even betrayed me by hooking up with some pathetic boy toy. On the night our marriage officially crumbled, I instantly hooked up with that same boy toy's stunning fiancée. I never expected this woman to be such a breathtaking beauty, flaunting such a dangerously slender waist to boot. After being tangled in the sheets with her all night long, I definitely came out on top in this deal. I assumed after our heated one-night stand our paths would never cross again. I never imagined that at my brand new workplace, she would actually be the icy captain of the criminal investigation team. Xiaoting shot a razor-sharp glance in my direction, her expression frosting over instantly. Forensic Dr. Yi. This is our formidable boss, Captain Xiao. Captain Xiao, it's a pleasure. Hello? Her tone was chillingly distant, acting as if she had never encountered me in her life. Putting on such a professional facade on the surface, yet hadn't she just been completely wild by my side? Xiaoting gave my hand a perfunctory shake and prepared to pull away immediately, but I gripped her hand firmly, refusing to let go. She glared at me with pure unadulterated fury. I simply smirked and challenged her with a raised eyebrow. She yanked her hand back forcefully. Forensic Dr. Yet, I truly hope your professional expertise is actually up to par. Do not disappoint me. Was I a disappointment to you the other night? Hearing my silent retort, Xiaoting refused to look at me again. She took a long, commanding stride toward her office. I retreated to the forensic department to get acquainted with the new autopsy table and high-tech equipment. Just as I was preparing to dive into my work, my assistant Xiaoyang rushed over in a frantic hurry. Brother Chen, we've got a situation. An angler at Qingshan Lake just hauled up a suspicious suitcase. Stuffed inside there was a hideously decomposed corpse. Let's move out. The desolate outskirts of Qingshan Lake. By the time I rushed onto the scene, Xiaoting and her elite team had already secured the area. Even from a distance, a nauseating stench hit me like a wall. Xiaoting was busy interrogating the angler who discovered the suitcase. Forensic Dr. Yi, the odor is incredibly overwhelming. Think you can stomach it. It's no problem at all. Ha ha ha. Xiaoting caught my eye with a sharp sideways glance. She looked like an entirely different person compared to that night. I'm incredibly precise and composed while on the clock, maintaining absolute laser-like focus. Captain Xiao questioned Forensic Dr. Ye. Is identification even possible with the corpse in such a state of decay? The victim is female, roughly between 40 and 45 years of age, standing approximately 160 to 165 centimeters tall. The time of death dates back at least a full year. As for the exact cause of death, a more rigorous examination in the autopsy suite is required. We must wait for the remains to be transported back to conduct a systematic dissection and a comprehensive toxicology screen before we can reach a definitive conclusion. Xiaomeng, get in touch with the hydrology department. Retrieve the current patterns for Qingshan Lake from the past year, along with the comprehensive water level archives. Analyze the potential window and coordinates of this disposal. Understood. Xiao Che. Immediately cross-reference all missing women reports in the city from the last year. Filter the results for a matching age and height profile. On it. Furthermore, track down the manufacturing source of this specific suitcase model. Everyone immediately plunged into their respective assignments. By the afternoon, Xiaoting arrived at the forensics laboratory. Have the findings been finalized? They have. The victim was initially strangled until she blacked out, then brutally struck in the head with a heavy blunt object, resulting in a catastrophic and fatal craniocerebral injury. The extensive damage to the hyoid bone and thyroid cartilage proves she was subjected to vicious sadistic violence while still breathing. However, the severity of the fractures wasn't quite enough to trigger death by asphyxiation. Observe this area. Bone fragments were driven deep into the skull, indicating she was repeatedly hammered before finally expiring. First strangulation, then a lethal strike with a blunt instrument. This confirms the killer harbored a cold, calculated intent to murder, rather than it being a crime of passion or a panicked, impulsive act. We still need to perform a high-res 3D skull reconstruction to pinpoint the exact shape of the blunt weapon used. We also need to isolate trace residues from the skeletal remains to see if we can identify the specific type of murder weapon. I appreciate your relentless hard work. It's simply part of my professional duty. Just as I prepared to resume the forensic testing, my stomach suddenly betrayed me with a loud, hollow growl. From the moment the case broke this morning until this very second, nearly 7 grueling hours have slipped by. I haven't consumed a single scrap of food. Xiaoting spoke up with a rare softness. Don't overwork yourself. Go grab a bite first, it'll be fine. Go eat. Captain Xiao, in what official capacity are you ordering me? As a former fling, a professional colleague. Or my boy toy's scorned ex-fiancée, a colleague. After dropping that cold line, she vanished without a backward glance. I stared at Xiaoting's frost-covered figure and playfully aimed a kick toward her back. The very next second, as if she possessed eyes in the back of her head, she whipped around abruptly and caught me dead in the middle of my kicking motion. Forensic Dr. Yi, you seem to harbor a deep-seated prejudice against me. Prejudice, Captain Xiao. Listen to the words coming out of your mouth. Clearly, we've shared some profoundly deep interactions. Yet here you are acting like we're total strangers who've never crossed paths. I recall that after our night together, didn't forensic Dr. Yi swear he'd never pester me again? Are you terrified of becoming addicted to me? Or is it simply that the way you look at me isn't exactly pure? What am I supposed to do, Captain Xiao? The way you're acting so frigid and untouchable right now actually makes me crave kissing you until you break into tears. I'm going to make this crystal clear one more time, and it will be the last time. I refuse to involve myself in any non-professional entanglements with a colleague ever again. One-night stands or being friends with benefits, it's off the table. End of story. How should I handle this? I was born with a relentless, rebellious streak. The more you put on this icy front, the more you desperately try to shove me away and delude yourself into thinking nothing happened, the more I'm tempted to mess with your head. Xiaoting and I strolled into the cafeteria one after another. Boss forensic Dr. Yi over here, guys. I gave a casual nod. After retrieving my tray, I sat myself down directly across from Xiaoting. We briefly analyzed the details of the case. To break the tension, Chen Zhao pivoted the topic. Forensic Dr. Yi, let's talk about something fun. You're so incredibly handsome and sharp. Surely you have a girlfriend? I'm single. Whoa, are you serious? That's amazing. You know our boss is also totally single. The two of you, who just kicked me, Chen Zhao, quit playing matchmaker and focus on your food. Boss, with such an explosive reaction, don't tell me you're still hung up on that pathetic ex-fiancé of yours? If you want my honest opinion, that guy is a total greaseball full of nothing but hot air. He isn't even remotely in your league. Chen Zhao, I explicitly told you to shut up and eat. Was I not clear enough? Chen Zhao didn't dare utter another single word. Observing the fierce, intimidating aura of Xiaoting, I suddenly extended my leg and gave her a sharp kick under the table. Xiaoting didn't show even a flicker of a reaction. Seeing her play it cool, I decided to kick her again. I'm finished here. Boss, what's crawled up your sleeve? With such a legendary temper flare-up, could it be that a time of the month for her? After finishing my meal, I received a call from my best bro, Xia Yibai. Old Yi man, I am absolutely fuming right now. My lungs are literally about to detonate from pure rage. Deep breaths, Yibai. Take it slow and talk to me what went down. Who got under your skin, that absolute bastard, that low-life scumbag? I wish I could teleport right in front of his face this instant and show him exactly how I tear him limb from limb, ripping him into 8 miserable pieces. I just used a burner account to creep on that boy toy social media feed. That trashy woman Fu Nianian actually gifted him a freaking Rolex. You two were married for ages. Did she ever once buy you anything even half that decent? She never showed you a shred of genuine sincerity. Abai, listen to me carefully. Delete Fu Nianian from your WeChat right now. I no longer have any ties to Fu Nianian whatsoever. The second those divorce papers were signed, she became a ghost, and I became a free man who she buys luxury watches for. Or whatever fake romance she flaunts is none of my concern. You shouldn't waste your energy being angry over this either. It's simply not worth it. He's just stone cold blind. Throwing away a top-tier guy like you just to settle for that piece of human garbage. He's going to be drowning in regret later. I guarantee it. After venting with Xia Yibai for a bit, I headed back to the forensics lab to pull a grueling all-nighter. I grabbed the finalized test results to track down Xiaoting. Xiaoting hadn't closed her eyes all night either. She was deep in the evidence room scrutinizing the suitcase, examining the specific material of the suitcase and this archaic old-fashioned craftsmanship. It appears to originate from a minor factory decades ago, or perhaps a custom-made piece from a legacy hardware shop. Shall He find a way to track down all vintage hardware factories within the city that manufactured similar luggage cases, or any specialized leather goods workshops? Prioritize those that have since shuttered or undergone restructuring. Shall He spotted me just as he was making his exit. He hurriedly offered a greeting. Forensic Dr. Yi, you've arrived, searching for Captain Xiao. Xiaoting pivoted back to meet my gaze. I stepped forward and presented the analysis in my hand. The preliminary findings from my all-nighter. Based on the 3D skull reconstruction and wound simulations, the blunt instrument that delivered the killing blow possessed a circular contact surface roughly 10 centimeters in diameter. The edges exhibit a distinct curvature, and the texture is exceptionally rigid. Our initial comparisons perfectly align with the physical traits of a standard heavy crystal or glass ashtray. Furthermore, deep within the fabric fibers, we isolated microscopic trace fragrance residues. Chemical analysis narrowed the profile down to a specific formula from an incredibly niche rose perfume brand. The intel you've provided is exceptionally valuable. I let out a long, satisfied yawn. Then the upcoming door-to-door screenings and lead verifications are in the hands of your squad. I need to head home and crash. I'm absolutely drained. While I was driving back to my place, I caught a glimpse of Xiaoting leading her team out for fieldwork. Cross-referenced this number immediately. Through strategic deployment, Xiaoting. unearthed the niche perfume's purchase history for the past 2 years. She filtered specifically for female consumers between 40 and 45. The officers canvassing the old hardware workshops also recovered the ledger of custom suitcase orders from that era. Based on the rigorous screening and investigation, the focus narrowed down to a woman named Jiang Ning. Jiang Ning, female, 42 years old, vanished a year ago under the guise of traveling abroad for medical care. Her social media profiles are surprisingly still being updated, with IP addresses suggesting she is currently overseas. However, her husband Xu Banian over the past year has absolutely no recorded history of leaving the country. Intelligence gathered from the neighborhood and kin reveals that absolutely no one has any details regarding her medical journey. This whole narrative is riddled with inconsistencies. Xiaoting thrust Jiang Ning's files from the community center into my hands. I need you to cross-reference these findings immediately. Verify if the victim's dental profile and pelvic bone structure align perfectly with Jiang Ning's physiological records. Copy that. By late afternoon, I delivered the definitive results to Xiaoting. It's a match. The deceased is undoubtedly Jiang Ning. Forensic Dr. Yi has officially identified the victim as Jiang Ning. Establishing the victim's identity means our manhunt finally has a pinpoint focus and a clear target in sight. This is no longer some anonymous John Doe decomposition mystery, but a cold-blooded homicide orchestrated specifically to eliminate Jiang Ning. Listen up, everyone, 5-minute warning. Briefing starts in the first conference room. Jiang Ning, female, age 42 at the time of her demise. She served as a distinguished art lecturer at Yecheng University. Her expertise was traditional Chinese ink wash painting. 3 years prior, she and her parents were involved in a horrific car wreck while traveling. Jiang Ning was the sole survivor, but the tendons in her dominant right wrist were savagely mangled. She essentially lost the motor skills required for fine brushwork. For a master of Chinese painting, this was a soul-crushing career-ending blow. 1 year ago, she allegedly planned to go overseas for specialized medical treatment. Logs indicate she purchased a ticket and cleared security. However, cross-referencing the forensic time of death, it's likely Jiang Ning had a change of heart moments before boarding, or was coerced into changing her plans. She never actually set foot on that aircraft. The overseas treatment story has been a total fabrication ever since. Jiang Ning's husband, Xu Banian, also holds a professorship at Yecheng University. Jiang Ning never left the country, yet she's been missing in plain sight for an entire year, as her spouse Xu Banian never once filed a missing person report. Furthermore, Jiang Ning's social media presence mysteriously updates every few days. Only the cold-blooded killer could possibly be in possession of her phone. As it stands, Xu Banian is our primary person of interest. Xu Banian was hauled back to the station for a formal interrogation. Xiaoting marched into the interrogation room radiating authority. The sleepless nights had sharpened her gaze into something lethal. The suspect Xu Banian was middle-aged yet remarkably well-kept, free of any beer belly or thinning hairline. He exuded the refined, sophisticated aura of a high-level academic. Officer, would you mind explaining what on earth is going on? Why was I abruptly dragged to a dismal place like this? Are you aware that your wife Jiang Ning was brutally murdered nearly a year ago? It's impossible. That is fundamentally out of the question. She is clearly overseas focusing on her medical recovery. Just yesterday afternoon, she even sent me a WeChat message, claiming she was doing perfectly fine. You're full of it. Just now, when you uttered the word impossible, your eyes flickered repeatedly toward the upper left. In the realm of behavioral analysis, that move indicates the brain is fabricating an image rather than retrieving a genuine memory. The muscles on the left side of your mouth are unnaturally rigid and twitching downward. That's a classic telltale sign of faked surprise, a slip-up from trying too hard to micromanage your face. This whole shock routine is nothing but a performance. I honestly have no clue what you're implying. What eye movements? What stiff mouth? I'm simply paralyzed by shock, completely devastated. My wife is gone, and I am in more agony than anyone. How can you use such theories to frame me? You claim Jiang Ning has been in constant WeChat contact. Did the two of you ever once video call? Fine, let me pose a question. How can you be so certain that the individual chatting with you on the other end was actually Jiang Ning herself? If she truly went abroad just to recuperate, why is it that throughout this entire past year, as her husband, you don't have a single record of leaving the country? Not one plane ticket purchased to check on her. There isn't even a digital footprint of you attempting a video call to see her face. Does that sound logical to you? Professor Xu, ever since that tragic incident 3 years ago, she transformed into a completely unrecognizable person. Whenever I tried to get close to her, she'd treat me like a nuisance and demand I leave her alone. Even though I was sick with worry seeing her like that, I was terrified that saying too much would cause her to lose the final shred of her fragile will to keep living. On the day of her departure, I personally escorted her to the airport. I watched her clear security and head toward the boarding gate. If I had only known this would happen, I would have stopped her even if it cost my life. Or I would have followed her to the ends of the earth. Shouting, wearing a mask of cold indifference, slammed the suitcase evidence files down in front of Xu Banian. This specific suitcase, 30 years ago, Zhang Ning's parents had it custom made at an old workshop, Yanggu Hardware as a centerpiece of her dowry. Now it has surfaced from the depths of Qingshan Lake, containing Zhang Ning's severely decomposed remains. This suitcase vanished from your own home, yet you're telling me, claiming you were completely oblivious to its disappearance. That suitcase, Zhang Ning typically kept it locked away in storage. Perhaps she moved it somewhere else, or maybe I simply didn't pay it much mind. I genuinely have no idea. I lived every day believing my wife was still alive. Now you abruptly inform me she's dead? Rotting inside that horrific suitcase? I'm more traumatized and broken than anyone. I loved her. Ning Ning's life was more precious to me than my own. How could I ever dream of hurting her? If I harbored even the slightest intent to harm her, may I suffer a gruesome and agonizing death. Without concrete, irrefutable evidence, even with a special judicial authorization, he can only be held for a maximum of 48 hours. In other words, we are forced to uncover a smoking gun within the next 48 hours. Xiaoting and Chen Wei headed to Yecheng University to interview Zhang Ning and Xu Bainian's academic supervisors. Those two were renowned as the model couple of our entire faculty. Professor Xu came from a destitute background. I heard that back during his student days, he relied entirely on Professor Jiang's family for the financial backing to finish his degree. Even after his career took off, Professor Jiang found it impossible to conceive due to her health, yet he never uttered a single word of complaint. He was truly devoted to Professor Jiang. We all witnessed it. Shouting paid another visit to the neighborhood surrounding Xu Banian and Zhang Ning's residence for further canvassing. Oh, officer, I'm telling you, Professor Xu is as saintly as they come, an absolute top-tier gentleman. Ever since Zhang Ning's parents perished in that horrific crash, and her own hand was permanently mangled, her temperament became simply beyond words. We frequently heard her shattering objects at home, screaming and berating Professor Xu at the top of her lungs. The insults were foul. We overheard it several times. On the drive back, Chen Meng was visibly beyond frustrated. This Xu Banian, at the university, he's the epitome of a grateful, devoted spouse. To the neighbors, he's the ultimate punching bag, who never dares to retaliate or even talk back. This perfect husband facade is built like a fortress. That is precisely why no one would ever dream of suspecting him. Xiaoting pulled out her phone to dial the technical department, geolocate the IP addresses for every single update. On Zhang Ning's social media accounts immediately. Someone must have spoofed the IP to masquerade as an overseas signal when the source is actually domestic. Chen Meng go dig into Xu Bainian's entire college transcript, focused specifically on whether he enrolled in any advanced computer science courses. Upon arriving back at the precinct, just as Xiaoting was about to head inside, she caught a glimpse of a young woman in her peripheral vision, standing by the flower bed with eyes that were red and swollen from crying. Xiaoting approached her slowly and inquired in a steady, calm voice, "Hello? I'm an officer here. Are you here to report something or take care of official business? I'm a student over at Yecheng University. I heard a rumor that Professor Jiang Ning was actually murdered an entire year ago. Is it really true? Please tell me it's just a horrible mistake. You were one of Professor Jiang Ning's students." "Yes, my name is Xia Xinran. I was one of the many students Professor Jiang mentored. My family's financial situation is quite dire. I nearly had to drop out because I couldn't cover the tuition fees. Professor Jiang found out and secretly paid for everything, all while encouraging me to keep going. She was truly a saint, the most incredible teacher I've ever had. How could this happen, with so many people coming and going? It's hardly appropriate to discuss this out in the open. Follow me inside. We'll locate a secluded spot to speak privately." Xiaoting escorted the trembling girl into the precinct. After offering her a glass of water to soothe her nerves, Xiaoting resumed, "Shit, I truly regret having to break this to you, but Professor Jiang Ning was indeed the victim of a homicide a year ago. Our team is currently deep in the investigation. At this moment, I need you to recount as precisely as humanly possible exactly when you last crossed paths with Professor Jiang Ning and the specific circumstances of that encounter. Back then, the Academy had secured a highly coveted slot for an exchange program in France. Professor Jiang held my work in high regard and fervently advocated for me to the department heads. Initially, the faculty had virtually confirmed my selection, but then for some inexplicable reason, the recipient was abruptly swapped. Professor Xu pushed for his own student, Lin Tianqian. The final time I laid eyes on Professor Jiang, I witnessed her and Professor Xu locked in a fierce, explosive argument over that exchange opportunity. Lin Tianqian, you're saying? The specific student Professor Xu championed? The one who snatched your exchange slot was named Lin Tianqian. What were her academic rankings like at the time? And what was the dynamic between her and Professor Jiang Ning? Xia Xinran brushed the remaining tears from her cheeks. My academic performance was ranked first in the entire year. Lin Qianqian's grades, by comparison, barely scraped the top 20. Purely due to Professor Shu's heavy-handed recommendation, that life-changing exchange slot was ultimately handed over to Lin Qianqian. I was in the studio during that period, and distinctly remember Professor Zhang becoming incredibly volatile. She shrieked at Professor Xu, "Zubanian, if you dare send Lin Qianqian away, I will completely annihilate your reputation. Understood? The intel you've shared is absolutely pivotal. Thank you, Xia. Is it possible to see Professor Zhang one last time? I just want to pay my respects and say goodbye. The case is still in the heat of active investigation. When the moment is right, if you're still willing, you may certainly come to bid her a final farewell as her student." Xiao Ting stood silently as Xia Xinran made her exit. "I'm truly grateful, officer. I pray that you unearth the truth soon, so that Professor Jiang can finally rest in peace." The moment Xia Xinran departed, Xiao Ting summoned Song Ting immediately. Song Ting launched an urgent investigation into a Yesheng University student named Lin Qianqian. I need every shred of intel you can dig up on her. On it, inside the interrogation room, sensing Xiao Ting's entrance, Zhu Bainian lazily flicked his eyelids upward. "Officer Xiao, I apologize for the repeated trouble. However, if my memory serves me correctly, your clock has exactly 1 hour remaining. Once those 48 hours expire without a shred of evidence, you'll be illegally detaining me. My legal counsel is already en route. Rest assured I'll be filing a massive complaint the second I'm free." Xiao Ting sat across from him, her face a mask of cold indifference. "Jiang Ning's parents bankrolled your entire education when you were a nobody. Jiang Ning chose to build a life with you when you had nothing, never once hesitating to support you. She stood by you every step of the way. She even sacrificed her own brilliant career for your sake. Tell me, Professor Shubanian, was her final reward being slaughtered by your hand, shoved into a suitcase and discarded in a frozen lake? Look at me, Shubanian. Do you truly feel not even a flicker of remorse?" "Officer, I honestly have no inkling of what you're implying. My in-laws were exceptionally kind to me, and my Ningning was my absolute world. I carry those memories in the depths of my soul. That is precisely why I cherished her more than life itself. I am still struggling to process the reality that she was actually taken from me so brutally. I am drowning in more agony than any of you could imagine." He began putting on another pathetic display of crocodile tears. "I've spent every waking moment praying you'd solve this, to give both me and Ning Ning the justice we deserve. Who would have thought that after all this time you've found zero proof? Instead, you just keep me trapped here with these endless questions. What exactly is your endgame here? To abuse your authority? To break me with sleep deprivation? Are you desperately trying to coerce a false confession?" This guy's conscience was clearly devoured by a stray dog. Even the most heartless beasts would call this man their master. "Officer Xiao, surely you can't actually track down the real murderer. So you're plotting to just grab a scapegoat, to pin this monstrous atrocity on me, a grieving devoted husband. All just to close the books early." Facing Shubanian's blatant provocation, her expression didn't show a single ripple of emotion. She slapped a set of photos onto the interrogation table. "See for yourself exactly what these are." Shubanian glanced down, and at that sight he froze completely. The photos captured Lin Qianqian cradling a child, stepping out of a high-end residential complex, side by side with his own mother. This child. On the official birth certificate, your name is listed in the father's column. Subanian. Jiang Ning had already unearthed your affair with Lin Qianqian, and even knew about the secret pregnancy. You were terrified she would expose your scandal, and utterly annihilate your reputation, so you decided to silence her forever. "No, I didn't kill anyone, even if I strayed. That's merely a moral failure. A personal lifestyle issue. My wife's death has absolutely nothing to do with me." Just at that moment, an officer from the tech department burst in. "Captain, we've recovered Jiang Ning's phone. It was located in a village on the western outskirts, stashed inside a rental unit leased under the name of Shubanian's father. We found the smoking gun. We verified Shubanian's university records. He did indeed master elective computer courses. He's especially skilled in virtual geolocation spoofing and sophisticated data masking techniques. Run a forensic fingerprint analysis on this device immediately. Zubanian fingerprints never lie. The evidence of you faking social media updates to mask your heinous crime will be exposed right now." Zubanian's composure instantly disintegrated. He slumped lifelessly into his chair, clutching his forehead with both hands, his voice sounding hauntingly hoarse. I never truly intended to murder her. It's because she kept cornering us and wouldn't just let us be. I really did love Jiang Ning once. I was nothing but a dirt poor kid from the sticks. We've been in each other's orbit since high school. In those days, her academic rank put mine to shame. She noticed I was drowning in my coursework, so she took the initiative to personally tutor me. Eventually, I got into uni, but my family was flat broke. It was Jiang Ning who begged her parents until they agreed to bankroll my entire degree. Back then, I Shubanian swore I'd grind like a dog, just to be worthy of Jiang Ning and repay her family's overwhelming generosity. We both secured positions at the university and wed. To the world, we were the ultimate power couple, a legendary match made in heaven. But no one understood the misery rotting inside me, or how utterly suffocated I truly felt. Her artwork was constantly sweeping up awards. She even snatched an associate professorship before I could. Because the sole reason Shubanian even exists here today, the reason I escaped the mountains and stayed on faculty, was entirely due to Jiang Ning's charity and her family's influential connections. Every time I accompanied her back to her parents' home, they wore a mask of politeness, but their words always jabbed at how Ning had settled and how I had hit the jackpot by marrying up. In their judgmental eyes, I would forever be that pathetic charity case, who only stood tall because of their handouts. In that suffocating house, I didn't even possess the right to voice an opinion. If I spoke up, I was branded as ungrateful. That sensation was like being tangled in a phantom net, constricting tighter and tighter until I was gasping for air. I swallowed all that bitterness and simmering resentment. I convinced myself it was just my cross to bear. But there was one deal breaker I couldn't stomach. She was completely infertile. The medical results explicitly proved she was the problem. But do you know what she had the nerve to tell me? It doesn't really matter. Banian, let's just embrace being childless. Easy for her to say, right? My hometown is a traditional old-school mountain village. Every single time I called home, my mother would wail and ask the heavens what sin she'd committed to be denied a grandchild. I figured since I loved her, I'd force myself to endure this hollow marriage. But as the years piled on, watching my colleagues flaunt their kids on social media and catching my mother secretly wiping away her tears, I felt a soul-crushing agony deep in my chest. Lin Qianqian was a struggling student from my own village. Her family was even more destitute than mine. So I was the one who personally sponsored her education. Eventually, she got into Yecheng University and became a student in my department. She absolutely idolized me. She claimed my lectures surpassed every other professor's. She even went as far as to say, I shouldn't be living in Professor Jiang Ning's shadow. To me, Lin Qianqian was a diligent, deeply appreciative, and pure-hearted girl. I did show her a certain amount of favoritism. After all, she was my own flesh and blood from home, and I was the one bankrolling her future. But back then, the thought of cheating never crossed my mind. Until that one fateful incident occurred. 3 years ago, my mother brought kin from the mountains to experience the city for the first time. Coincidentally, Jiang Ning was swamped and couldn't play hostess. My mother went out and bought groceries herself, insisting she'd whip up a simple home-cooked meal. We had a dog living with us at the time, a stray that Jiang Ning had rescued from the streets about 7 years prior. Usually the animal was perfectly docile, but that day it wouldn't stop snarling at one of the guests. It barked incessantly and bared its vicious teeth. The guest, irritated by the constant noise, viciously kicked the dog aside. Perhaps the blow was too brutal because the dog lost consciousness. The guest then pressured my mother, suggesting that since the dog was already knocked out cold, why not just slaughter it and make a hot pot so everyone could feast and have a blast? Later, when Jiang Ning returned, she immediately searched for the dog. When it didn't appear, my mother lied and said it was unruly and had simply bolted out the door on its own. Jiang Ning didn't buy that story for a second. She pulled up the surveillance footage from the living room. She discovered the gruesome truth hidden in the recording. After realizing her beloved pet had been eaten by them, she absolutely lost it and exploded on the spot. She caused a massive chaotic scene, refusing to back down and hauling my family together, forcing my mother and relatives to beg for forgiveness. Not only that, she even threw them out on the street. She ruthlessly kicked my mother and kin out onto the street. That incident utterly humiliated me, stripping away my dignity. I'd be mocked and ridiculed by everyone back in the village. She had the nerve to claim she loved me. Yet over such a trivial, insignificant matter, she didn't show me a shred of respect. My mother fell deathly ill from the stress she caused, but she didn't even bother visiting the village once. She and her elitist parents, at their core, they always looked down on me with disdain. Was a damn dog really that precious? I never once threw her infertility in her face. If the mutt she raised hadn't lunged at my relatives first, would my mother have ever dreamed of cooking it? Xiaoting's brow furrowed. Jiang Ning raised that dog for 7 years. It's proof that she was a deeply compassionate soul. Perhaps every single day after a long shift, the thing she anticipated most was that dog racing to the door with her slippers, or the simple joy of an evening walk after dinner. Your family literally slaughtered and ate her companion. Did you ever stop to consider the sheer agony she felt? I knew she was devastated. I even offered to buy her a replacement pet if she wanted. She was the one being stubborn. That dog had more humanity than you. But you don't possess any. You are truly more repulsive than a wild beast. If I'm such a monster, why didn't the gods strike me down? Instead, they snatched away Jiang Ning's parents. It proves even the heavens couldn't stand their arrogance. They pretended to treat me like their own flesh and blood. But secretly they loathed me, looking down on my humble parents back in the sticks. After Jiang Ning's parents perished, and her wrist was mangled to the point she couldn't paint, her entire personality became erratic and unstable. The smallest, most mundane thing would trigger her rage and ignite another explosive argument with me. I reached my breaking point. That year for Lunar New Year, she flatly refused to visit my village. I had to face my relatives alone. All my aunts and uncles swarmed me, obsessing over our family's lack of an heir once again. Those words laced with subtle venom were like jagged needles piercing my parents' pride and stabbing directly into my heart. My mother finally handed me a desperate ultimatum. If she didn't see a grandson before her time was up, she would never know a moment of peace and death. During that time, Lin Qian also returned to our mountain village for the holidays. I was in a foul, wretched mood. My household felt as cold as an ice cellar, while my hometown felt like a simmering pressure cooker. Only Lin Qian, she sensed I was drowning in misery, so she would frequent my house from time to time, just to offer me company and a listening ear. Lin Qian was a master of sweet talking, and possessed a natural talent for comforting others. Whenever I was consumed by unhappiness, she would use that velvety, gentle voice of hers to soothe my jagged nerves. That night, I let the alcohol take control. Fueled by liquid courage, I finally crossed the line with Lin Qian. In the aftermath, Lin Qian lay nestled in my arms, whispering for me not to drown in guilt. She promised she would never dismantle my family. She confessed she had idolized me for an eternity. As long as she could simply remain by my side, she was perfectly content being my little secret on the side. Who wouldn't be captivated by a young, radiant, and submissive soul flower who treats them like a god? After the first transgression, there was a second, then a third. Lin Qian and I meticulously hid our tryst from the world. She never once made any unreasonable demands. She simply remained by my side, quiet and devoted. I never seriously entertained the thought of divorce. After all, the public persona of me and Jiang Ning as the perfect couple was burned into everyone's minds. Jiang Ning's family had endured such a horrific tragedy. If I dared to abandon her, society would brand me a heartless, low-life scumbag. I wanted to keep the steady flame burning at home, while chasing the wild sparks fluttering outside. Lin Qian was merely my student. Not a single soul would ever suspect our entanglement. 2 years slipped by in that secret bliss, but the once docile and obedient Lin Qian suddenly became far more daring. She exploited a moment when Jiang Ning was away on business to infiltrate the sanctuary I shared with my wife. She draped herself in Jiang Ning's silk nightgown, misted herself with Jiang Ning's signature perfume, and sprawled across the bed Jiang Ning bought waiting for my arrival. She claimed that the illicit feeling, the raw terror of being caught, was the ultimate aphrodisiac. And just as Lin Qian predicted, the high of the affair became an incredibly potent addiction. As long as Jiang Ning was nowhere to be found, I would summon Lin Qian to my side. Jiang Ning had installed surveillance in the living room, but I'm a master at navigating computer systems. Every time Lin Qian visited, I would modify the software code in advance, so Jiang Ning would never detect anything suspicious. But even the best lies can't stay buried forever. Jiang Ning had an obsession with collecting niche perfumes. One time Lin Qian came over and helped herself to one of those rare bottles. Jiang Ning searched for ages, but it was gone. Later, when Lin Qian visited me at the office, Jiang Ning caught a whiff of that unmistakable scent on me. Jiang Ning didn't spark a confrontation then. She quietly claimed she was departing for a business trip. I was convinced she had actually left, so I brought Lin Qian back to my place that night. But what he never saw coming was, what I never expected was, while I was deep in an intimate moment with Lin Qian, Jiang Ning made a sudden unexpected return. She caught us dead to rights in the act. Jiang Ning slapped both me and Lin Qian right across the face. I fell to my knees begging Jiang Ning for a shred of mercy. Jiang Ning forced me to draft a written letter of guarantee. At that specific moment, the thought of murdering Jiang Ning hadn't even crossed my mind. But as fate would have it, Lin Qian discovered she was pregnant. The second my mother received the news, she threatened to end her own life, to force me into finding a way to protect the child in Lin Qian's womb. Sigh, I was backed into a corner. I had to manipulate the exchange student slot for Lin Qian, so she could give birth safely overseas. Because of this, Jiang Ning and I had a vicious, explosive argument. She even threatened to utterly destroy my reputation. During that tumultuous period, Jiang Ning refused to return to our newly purchased home and chose to hide away in the old house instead. I was paralyzed by the fear that Jiang Ning would actually expose the truth about me and Lin Qian. I went back one last time to plead for her forgiveness, but the moment I swung the door open, I saw her perched in front of the television. The screen was broadcasting raw footage of me and Lin Qian in the bedroom. She glared at me with a face twisted by malice, her eyes overflowing with pure loathing. Su Bainian, what if I broadcasted this degenerate footage on the big screen? During the university's grand anniversary celebration, what do you imagine would happen to you then? Your devoted husband and elite professor facade, that hollow reputation you spent over a decade crafting, would be pulverized in a single instant. I lunged toward her, viciously snatched the phone from her grip, and purged the video from existence. Watching the raw panic flicker in my eyes, she sneered, "Oh, so now you found your fear." When Lin Qiangqian paraded in my nightgown, saturated herself in my perfume, and crawled into bed with you, why weren't you shaking then? Su Banian, I've stayed by your side since I was a teenager. We finally have it all now. You're a cheater. You're a man with zero conscience. You are utterly beyond shameless. Are you even capable of comprehending shame? Do you honestly believe you're some paragon of honor? If you had any self-respect, would you have obsessed over me since puberty? You threw yourself at me just to secure this marriage. Enraged by my vitriol, Jiang Ning slapped me. If it weren't for the relentless support from me and my parents, could a nobody like you have ever reached these heights? Zhu Banian, how could you have the heart to backstab me like this? Her words shredded my fragile ego and shattered my defenses. My vision turned a violent bloodshot, and my features contorted into a monstrous grimace. I lunged and locked my hands around her throat. She struggled, desperately thrashing for air, but my grip was like steel cables crushing the life out of her. If she hadn't backed me into such a hopeless corner, I never would have been forced to strangle her. Continue, then still consumed by rage. I bludgeoned her skull several times with a heavy ashtray. Once the red mist finally cleared, the terror of discovery paralyzed me, so I crammed her lifeless body into that suitcase and vanished the remains into the deep. Having completed his grim confession, Zhu Banian finally broke down into jagged guttural sobs. His weeping was a chaotic vortex of conflicting emotions, loathing himself for personally extinguishing the one life that guided him from the shadows into the light. I bore witness to the entire interrogation, a heavy, bitter weight settling deep in my chest. Ladies, listen closely. Don't make it your mission to fix a man. Marrying beneath you rarely yields a lifetime of gratitude. It often just breeds resentment, betrayal, and a target on your back, especially the ones with fragile, oversized egos and zero self-awareness, the classic phoenix men. The moment they taste a shred of success, they conveniently erase their pathetic beginnings. Zhu Banian and Jiang Ning are the ultimate textbook disaster. Jiang Ning was infinitely more gifted than Zhu Banian, and her pedigree was leagues above his. Xu's bruised pride had been simmering with resentment for years. Then you have Zhu Banian's mother, a woman straight out of the deep, isolated mountains, traditional yet possessed by a delusional sense of superiority. She believed her son's escape from the sticks to the university was a feat achieved solely by his own hands. She felt not a lick of gratitude toward Jiang Ning's family, convinced her son was some god-tier prodigy, and that Jiang Ning was the lucky one to marry up, especially since Jiang Ning had that fatal flaw of being infertile. That's exactly why she had the audacity to slaughter the dog Jiang Ning loved for 7 years, acting righteous as if she'd done her a favor. It's just a beast. He stepped out of the interrogation room, addressing the weary members of his squad. You've all been grinding hard lately. No overtime tonight. Clear out early and get some actual sleep. I was also gearing up to head back to the lab to clock out. But just a few paces toward the exits, I spotted a tall figure approaching Xiaoting, Captain Xiao, Brother Cheng. His name is Su Yibai, a hotshot from the Information Intelligence Center. Before he showed up, he was the precinct's undisputed golden boy. Since you arrived, that crown has definitely shifted to you. Cut the golden boy garbage. Brother Cheng is spitting facts. I watched as Su Yibai followed Xiaoting straight into her private office. Man, the boss is seriously in demand. I've got no clue what kind of love potion. Her fiancé used to hex her. Out of all her elite pursuers, she stays loyal to that arrogant, vain fiancé who actually treats her like dirt. The boss has a whole line of people chasing her. Oh yeah, Su Yibai, the golden boy, is a total simp. Every time he lays eyes on the boss, it's like he's seeing pink bubbles and hearts. And before him, there was that billionaire tycoon who got snatched. The boss was the one who pulled off his rescue. Later, the guy actually tried to offer himself as payment, dispatching 99 roses to the station every single day. He even bankrolled massive feasts for the entire office. Our boss straight up delivered a cold ultimatum. If he dared set foot here again, she'd slap him with a harassment charge. I visualized that chaotic scene in my mind. It definitely tracked with Xiaoting's ruthless energy. Only someone that icy and aloof could be so blunt. A Zhao, don't just spend your time envying the boss. You're quite the looker yourself, you know. If the opportunity arises, I'll hook you up with some top-tier guys. Then I'll be sure to thank you in advance, Brother Cheng. After clocking out, I made a beeline for the supermarket. I've been so swamped since moving into this rental that I haven't even had a chance to whip up a home-cooked meal. I lugged my groceries into the elevator. Just as the doors were on the verge of sealing, someone outside jammed the call button. The elevator door slid open once more. Xiaoting materialized, and for a fleeting heartbeat, A spark of genuine shock flickered in my eyes. Noticing that Xiaoting didn't even spare me a glance, I was forced to play along and pretend we were total strangers. Why hasn't she selected a floor yet? Is it possible she's living on the exact same floor as me? Could she have known I was staying here all along? Didn't she strictly forbid benefits with colleagues? Is this some alpha MC versus ice queen trope playing out? My unit is located on the 6th floor. Once the elevator reached its destination, I stepped out into the hallway first, tracking Xiaoting's every move through my peripheral vision. Sure enough, like a silent shadow, she followed me out into the corridor. After taking a few measured steps down the hall, I abruptly whirled around to confront the woman. Xiaoting clearly didn't anticipate my sudden turn. Before she could even check her momentum, her body collided squarely against my chest. Xiaoting recoiled, quickly backpedaling a few steps. Seeing her dodge me like I was some venomous viper, I felt a mix of irritation and dark amusement. I dropped my bags and took several deliberate steps forward. This time, Xiaoting didn't retreat an inch further. She tilted her head up to meet my gaze. "What are you doing?" I leaned in, looking down at her. The pale light from the window filtered in, casting a deceptive veil of fragility over her frosty features. Recalling how insanely compatible we were that night, I slowly, provocatively licked my lips. Her stunning brows knitted together in an instant. "Yue Chen, get a grip and act serious." I stared into her eyes, which seemed to be masking a deep secret. "My apologies. I just had a vivid flashback of the way you savor cherries." The woman's cheeks instantly flushed a deep crimson. She barked sternly, "If you have something to state, spit it out." Reflecting on the wild events of that night, if they didn't share the exact same face, I bet my life she had a split personality. "Why are you putting on this act? Weren't you hunting for me this entire time? I thought you were against office flings with subordinates. So why did you shadow me all the way here?" I never pegged Captain Xiao to be so aggressive as to show up uninvited at my doorstep. "Release me this instant." I stood frozen as Xiaoting marched to the door directly opposite mine, punched in the passcode, and stepped inside. With a thunderous slam, the door rattled shut, leaving me completely floored. Xiaoting wasn't stalking me after all. She actually resided right across the hall. My brain immediately went into a chaotic overdrive, and my face burned with pure embarrassment. I inhaled a sharp, deep breath, grabbed my shopping bags off the floor, and bolted into the sanctuary of my apartment. I rushed straight into the bathroom and doused my face with freezing water. It took an eternity for the heat in my skin to subside. While grabbing a bite, I hit up my bro Sia 100. Last night, I finally blocked Fu Nianian for good. They say a lover is essential like oxygen, but I'm convinced Fu Nianian is pure herbicide. Total poison for anyone unlucky enough to cross her. Bro, you need to keep your options open. Don't swear off every woman on the planet just because of one toxic, trashy girl. I shot back, "My mind is wide open, trust me. Women, if they're a 10, I'm down for a date. But settling down, that's a total sucker's bet. Don't sweat it." My mother called, insisting I show up for dinner this weekend. "Mom, yeah, I hear you loud and clear. This weekend, right? Copy that, I'll be there for the feast." After hanging up, I was ready to resume the chat with Sia 100. When I suddenly stumbled upon the scandalous reply I just fired off was nowhere to be found in my chat with Sia 100. I backed out of the conversation, only to find 99 plus notifications blowing up the work group. I clicked in to investigate, and I was instantly utterly paralyzed with shock. I had actually blasted that message into the professional work group by mistake. Now it's far too late to even attempt a recall. The entire group erupted over my reckless comments. The cringe is so intense I literally want to vanish. Is it too late to just go AWOL and leave the group? I scrolled through the chaotic chat history, and one particular jab caught my eye. "Just make sure you don't go booking any hotel rooms and bring total disgrace to our precinct." My jaw tightened with pure unadulterated fury. Did they really have to get this toxic? Forget it, I'm the new guy in this precinct. No sense in starting a flame war in the group chat. I recalled adding Zhang Lei and Song Qin on WeChat, but I still hadn't secured Xiaoting's contact info yet. I tracked down Xiaoting's profile in the group list, typed my name into the verification note, and fired off a friend request. Having her on WeChat would streamline our work communication. I headed to the kitchen to deal with the dishes. After finishing, I double-checked my device. Xiaoting still hadn't approved my friend request. I hung the laundry out on the balcony, then headed in to take a hot shower. I checked my phone one more time. She still hadn't accepted the request. A prickle of genuine annoyance started to kick in. What exactly is this woman's problem? Is she intentionally ghosting my request? I wasn't about to sit around playing guessing games, so I marched across the hall and pounded on her door. After a beat, the door finally swung open. She had clearly just stepped out of the shower. The damp, clingy fabric traced her silhouette flawlessly, recalling every detail from that night. "What's the deal? Why the icy cold shoulder? Are you feeling unfulfilled or something? Keep your hands off me." Huh. Why pretend like we aren't intimately acquainted? Seeing her put on that stone-cold face was actually becoming pretty hilarious. "I even know exactly how many moles are on your hip." I don't have a single mole on my hip. Then by all means let me verify. I'll check for myself if it's actually there. She extended a slender finger, staving off my advance by pressing it firmly against my chest. Yue-chun, I'm not about to fall for your pathetic games. Ha, I recall you devouring that meal quite enthusiastically that night. Such an utterly shameless man. She was practically fuming with laughter. Didn't you explicitly state it was just a one-night stand? What are you trying to backpedal on our deal now? Quit the flirting. I have zero interest in someone like you. Zero interest? Then why were you so incredibly proactive that day? Your whole body is remarkably soft, yet your mouth is undeniably tough. What exactly was your motive for coming here? I casually brandished my phone. I fired off a friend request over an hour ago. Are you intentionally ghosting me or just playing blind? Even if we aren't exactly friends, we still need to coordinate via WeChat for professional matters, wouldn't you agree? I leaned in, whispering into Xiaoting's ear. Or is it that the captain simply can't separate business from pleasure? Xiaoting pressed her back flush against the doorframe, her eyes involuntarily sweeping over my sculpted abs. As scandalous images flashed through her mind, she suddenly felt a searing wave of heat. She shoved her palm against me, forcing me out with a burst of strength. I'll approve the request later. The door slammed, nearly flattening my nose. What an absolutely fiery temper this woman possesses. Back inside the safety of my apartment, I endured nearly 30 minutes of silence before Xiaoting finally authorized my request. Cold yet possessing that classic tsundere vibe, just like a prickly little kitten. Deep within a pitch-black alleyway, a mangled, heavily wounded man scrambled forward in a blind panic. A pack of men followed like shadows, closing the distance. His lungs were burning, his breath failing. And ultimately, they cornered their prey. In the dead of night, only the man's guttural screams echoed. The man lay discarded in the frozen woods, crimson stains blooming across his lifeless frame, eyes fixed in a wide, permanent state of shock. With a deafening explosion of sound, thunder crackled violently just outside the window. I bolted upright, my eyes snapping wide open in bed. Ice-cold sweat drenched my pajamas, and my heart was hammering frantically against my ribs. Xiaoting was drifting in a groggy slumber when a sharp rapping at her door shattered the silence. Lately, Xiaoting had been deprived of any decent rest. Having finally drifted off, only to be jolted awake, she felt a surge of cold irritability. Once the frantic knocking finally ceased, she assumed I had retreated to my place across the hall. But then her smartphone erupted with a persistent video call. Xiaoting ignored the vibration. She stood up and marched toward the entrance. Yue-chun, can you just stop? Xiaoting froze, her tone shifting. What the hell is wrong with you? Captain, tonight, can I stay here? Absolutely not. I'm not looking for a hookup. I just need someone to simply be in the room. Xiaoting's eyes narrowed with sharp suspicion. Don't tell me. A seasoned forensic doctor like you is actually afraid. Sensing she had finally lowered her guard, I brushed past her and stepped into the house. Xiaoting pointed toward the guest suite. You sleep in there. I completely ignored her directive and walked straight into the master bedroom. Witnessing my audacity in invading her private sanctuary, she hurried over to intercept me. Yue-chen, I've already told you no more mixing business with pleasure. Captain, why is your mind perpetually stuck in the gutter? I never said I wanted to lay a finger on you. Don't be so incredibly full of yourself. A man bangs on my door at this ungodly hour, reclaims my own master bedroom, and expects me not to read into it. Chill, I'm in a dark place tonight. I'm not going to harass you. You can either share the mattress with me, or throw down a pallet and sleep on the floor. In your wildest dreams, I'm decamping to the guest room. Another violent thunderclap detonated outside the window. My complexion turned a ghostlier shade of white. Captain, for the sake of our former situationship, could you just stay and be here for me? The woman wavered for a fleeting second, then ducked into the walk-in closet, snagging a quilt to spread across the floor by the bed. I stared down at Xiaoting, who preferred the hardwood floor over being near me. I rolled over and let sleep take over. Sooner or later, I'll have you begging for my touch. Lights out the room plunged into absolute darkness. But soon enough, I slipped from the comfort of the bed to join her on the floor. Xiaoting was gearing up to kick me out. The moment I locked my arms around her, don't push me away. 2 years ago, my brother covertly returned for my wedding, but he was shadowed by criminals who sniffed out his identity. They brutally tortured him and dumped his body in the wilderness like a piece of garbage. My brother was an undercover operative. If he hadn't risked everything to bring me a wedding gift, he never would have been marked for death. Those cold-blooded monsters would rather slaughter the innocent than let a single shred of suspicion slide. That criminal syndicate hasn't been dismantled yet. Truth is, I volunteered for a deep cover mission a year ago, but I lacked the necessary field experience. The chief insisted I grind in the trenches for a while before I could qualify for specialized undercover training. You're far more courageous than I gave you credit for the world to stay at peace. Someone has to be willing to bleed on the front lines. My brother is my North Star. I hope that one day, I can personally hunt down and cuff those bastards. My brother's executioners I locked eyes with Xiaoting. What's your story, Captain? Why did you choose this dangerous line of work? If it's classified or personal, just forget I asked. Xiaoting shut her eyes, burying her emotions deep inside. I'm doing this for a very important person. My curiosity immediately spiked. I can sense a major plot twist here. There's no sequel to this story. Yue Chen, that wild night at the bar, was a total fluke. I'm not jumping into bed with you again. You'd better kill that fantasy of playing games with me. Playing games? Which I saw that I was only looking for a fling. I expected to be up all night tossing and turning. But inhaling that intoxicating, familiar scent of hers, my eyelids finally grew heavy and tired. And eventually I slowly drifted into a deep sleep. When I woke at dawn, Xiaoting had already vanished from my side. I neatly folded the quilt for her and stepped out of the bedroom. While passing by the kitchen, I caught a glimpse of the snatched, long-legged Xiaoting, positioned at the counter whipping up breakfast. Hold up, Xiaoting actually has skills in the kitchen. The spread looks surprisingly high tier too. Take your portion back to your own unit. I cocked an eyebrow in amusement. I'm not allowed to just eat here with you. Absolutely not. Do you genuinely loathe me that much? Yue Chen, do you honestly believe you're so irresistible that every woman you bait will instantly crumble? What is this sudden hostility? Did she wake up on the wrong side of the bed today? If you weren't feeling the vibe, why did you even go home with me that night? It's not like I coerced you. If you're so damn confident, then why did your ex-wife dump you for another man? Now get out. Fine, I'm gone. You think I'm actually that desperate for your attention? I stormed out, fuming with rage. I forced myself to cool down and headed into work. I was cutting it close, so as soon as I hit the lobby, I lunged for the elevator and jammed the button. The car was packed with several colleagues, including the very woman I just clashed with this morning. As I stepped inside, she didn't even bother to acknowledge my existence. Fine, I acted like she was invisible too. Chen Jiao, tucked away in the corner, gave me a cheerful wave. Brother Cheng, you're looking exceptionally sharp today. Much appreciated. I've got a massive coffee order on the way. My treat for the squad later. Stepping out of the elevator, Xiaoting and I remained in a cold stalemate. The caffeine has arrived. Everyone come and get your fix. From forensics to the criminal investigation unit, everyone in the department got a cup. Chen Jiao delivered a fresh cup to Xiaoting's desk. Boss, Brother Cheng is such a legend and clearly loaded. He just treated everyone to top-shelf premium coffee. When we were in the elevator earlier, I could definitely sense some serious tension between you and Brother Cheng. Did you two have some kind of lover's spat? Xiaoting snapped a lethal glare at Chen Jiao. Do I look like a charity case who can't buy her own coffee? You're not obligated to consume anything he purchases. Boss, you're totally misinterpreting my point. I was simply fueled by curiosity. Brother Cheng only just transferred to our unit. So how did you two already spark a feud? Stop spiraling. This is absolutely divine. Boss, are we clear to officially close Zhang Ning's case? Hold off on the final closing report for now. I can't shake the feeling that in Chu Bainian's confession, something vital is still missing. I leaned casually against the office door frame, savoring my premium coffee. Hearing her doubt, I arched an eyebrow, strode in, and slapped a lab report onto her desk. What a coincidence, I've got the same nagging suspicion. This is a specific carpet fiber I extracted from a hidden corner in Chu Bainian's study. The microscopic test results match the lining material of the suitcase used to transport Zhang Ning's remains. What's more, trapped within those fibers, there was a trace residue of Lin Qiangqian's nail glue. Xiaoting snatched the report and scanned the pages rapidly. Are you suggesting Lin Qiangqian was an active participant? I gave a slow, deliberate nod. The empirical data on the report doesn't lie. The forensics are crystal clear on that front. Zhu Bainian claimed he killed her in a blind rage. But this fiber evidence proves beyond a doubt that Lin Qiangqian was also at the old house that night. She wasn't some innocent bystander, she was a cold-blooded accomplice. Prep the interrogation room for Lin Qiangqian immediately. Gather every shred of evidence we have. Xiaoting went straight for Lin Qiangqian's throat in the room. Initially, she tried to maintain her damsel in distress act. He deceived me, promising he was only scaring Sister Zhang Ning. But when Xiaoting slammed the nail glue analysis and the surveillance frames placing her at the scene during the exact time of the murder right in front of her, her mental fortress shattered instantly. She crumbled into the chair and vomited out the truth. As it happens on that fateful night, Lin Qiangqian had been lurking inside the old house's bedroom. She eavesdropped on the explosive row between the couple, and the moment she saw Zhang Ning reveal the affair footage, she stealthily grabbed a crystal ashtray from the lounge, handed the weapon directly to Xu Beinian, and while Zhang Ning was being choked and thrashing for life, she ruthlessly pinned down Zhang Ning's limbs. Once Zhang Ning's life was extinguished, she actively helped Xu Beinian cram the corpse into the suitcase and scrub the crime scene of every incriminating trace. With the evidence now undeniable, Xu Beinian and Lin Qiangqian were formally charged and arrested for premeditated murder. The iron fist of the law now prepares to crush them. Yicheng University swiftly issued a public statement, expelling him in disgrace. When his parents received the news, they became outcasts, unable to show their faces in the village. As for Lin Tianqian's unborn child, it is destined to grow up in a cold environment, completely deprived of its biological parents' presence. The second the final verdict was delivered, the entire squad finally exhaled a collective sigh of relief. The suffocating gloom in our hearts finally began to lift. This profound sense of justice and satisfaction felt more visceral than any case we had ever solved. Zhang Ning's tragic file was officially shuttered. However, the volatile dynamic between me and Xiaoting remained locked in a state of high-voltage tension. Chen Jiao and the crew noticed the sparks and took note, constantly plotting ways to play matchmaker for us, only to be shut down by Xiaoting's lethal icy glares. Time ebbed away in this mundane, repetitive cycle. But 2 weeks later, the Bureau was hit with an exceptionally grisly case. A man's body was discovered in a desolate suburban factory. The victim was a high-profile fugitive linked to several drug rings, and this specific investigation happened to be the key to the very criminal syndicate that brutally murdered my brother. The top brass finally greenlit my undercover request, authorizing me to pose as a shady black market medic to infiltrate the cartel and harvest hard evidence. The iron-willed commander for this high-stakes op was Xiaoting. On the eve of the infiltration, Xiaoting summoned me to her private office. "Enter, Xiaoting. You wanted to see me." Under the dim glow, her sharp features seemed to have softened significantly. She no longer looked like that untouchable, stone-cold captain of criminal investigation from the office. "Yue Chen, this mission is a literal suicide run. You must guard your life at all costs. Put your survival above everything else. Relax, your favorite forensic doc is built different. Besides, with Captain Xiao watching my back from the shadows, how could I possibly let anything go sideways? Who's yours? Get your head in the game. Take this equipment with you. Signal for backup immediately if the situation spirals." Life deep undercover was a grueling uphill battle. The syndicate's kingpin was pathologically paranoid, subjecting me to one ruthless test after another. He even coerced me into dissecting their own traitors, just to validate my medical credentials. Every time I stared death in the face, I envisioned Xiaoting stationed on the perimeter, recalled the haunting image of my brother's demise, and I gritted my teeth to survive. After 3 agonizing months, I finally secured the smoking gun evidence against the entire criminal organization and pinpointed their secret transaction hubs. The massive bus was scheduled for a day where the sky mirrored the one when my brother died. The exchange site was a literal minefield of ambushes. Xiaoting led the charge in a relentless frontal assault, while I strategically sabotaged them from within. In the ensuing carnage, the cartel boss finally unmasked my true identity and lunged at me with a lethal blade. At that split-second critical moment, Xiaoting threw herself into the fray to take the blow. The steel ripped through her police uniform, carving a gruesome jagged wound into her arm. My vision instantly turned a violent red. I slammed the kingpin into the dirt with raw fury and pulverized his face with a barrage of punches until the officers finally dragged me off him. Staring at the deep gash on Xiaoting's arm, I felt a soul-crushing wave of agony. "Are you insane? Why didn't you just move out of the way?" She managed to curve the corner of her lips into a smirk, reaching out to tenderly wipe the gore from my cheek. "I'm the captain. Shielding my squad is my sacred duty. And more importantly, you're far more than just a team member to me." I gazed down at her with a heavy heart, my eyes brimming with unfiltered sincerity. Shouting from our first encounter at that bar, to cracking the Qingshan Lake murder together, all the way through these hellish 3 months, I've thought about you every waking second. My only goal was making it back alive to see your face. You're the only person who has ever truly owned my heart. I was never just playing games with you, Xiaoting. I want a future with you and only you. Spend an entire lifetime together. Xiaoting's eyes instantly welled up. She tried to avert her gaze, but I gently guided her face back to mine. I leaned down and captured her lips in a deep kiss. She didn't recoil or push me away. Instead, she reached out and draped her arms around my neck, finally surrendering to this long overdue kiss. The rainy night wind howled past, swirling with droplets, but it couldn't extinguish the fire burning deep in our hearts. The criminal syndicate was utterly dismantled. The monsters who took my brother's life were all finally caged. The court delivered a death sentence. Brother, your soul can finally rest in peace. Every bastard who hurt you has faced their ultimate judgment. Now I can finally release this suffocating obsession and start living my own life again. Xiaoting stood steadfast by my side, gently interlacing her fingers with mine. The warmth of her palm provided a sense of absolute security. With the case finally behind us, my relationship with Xiaoting was finally out in the open. The bureau colleagues had long since caught the vibe, and the teasing became relentless. Chen Jiao even cornered me, demanding I pay up with wedding favors. Su Yibai watched us a genuine smile as he offered his blessings. Xiaoting officially moved out of her rental, and into my place. The across the hall tension became full-blown cohabitation. During those domestic days living together, Xiaoting finally confessed that she became a cop to honor her father, a veteran detective who fell in the line of duty. She was determined to finish her father's unfinished business, guarding the peace of this city at any cost. I held her close and whispered in her ear, "From this moment on, I'll be the shield standing right beside you." A year later, with the whole squad as our witnesses, I got down on one knee for Xiaoting. Xiaoting, as a forensic doctor, I've become desensitized to life and death, but the only thing that truly terrifies me is the thought of losing you. For the rest of our journey, I want to be your unbreakable armor, shielding you from every storm that comes our way. Will you marry me? Xiaoting nodded through a blur of tears, extending her hand for me to slide the diamond ring home. In the golden sunlight, her smile was soft and radiant, shattering every ounce of the coldness or distance she once held. Our wedding was an intimate affair. We only shared the moment with family and our bureau comrades. Chen Zhao beamed as the bridesmaid. Songqing stood proud as the best man. Xiaoting and I are destined for eternal happiness, vowing to guard one another, honoring the noble careers we cherish, and preserving the sanctuary of peace within this chaotic world.